Others responded that Caesar was to be treated as a public enemy if he refused to submit on whatever date they fixed. And that was what brought Julius Caesar to the north bank of the Rubicon. To cross it would bring the wrath of Rome thundering down upon him and his men. To cross it would engulf the Republic in civil war. But to remain on the northern bank would at best gain nothing, and would most likely risk an end to his power. Besides, if it did not destroy Rome, crossing the Rubicon was the best hope of saving it. According to Plutarch, Caesar stood on the riverbank, discussing his perplexities with his friends who were there. He thought of the sufferings which his crossing the river would bring upon mankind. Then, however, he imagined the fame of the story of it. Another early biographer, Suetonius, recorded that Caesar remarked to his followers, "We may still draw back, but once across that little bridge we shall have to fight it out." Caesar stood in two minds, Suetonius relates, then suddenly caught sight of a man, strikingly noble and of graceful aspect, who played upon a shepherd's pipe, played with such captivating beauty that soldiers, including the trumpeters, flocked to him from their posts. The man suddenly seized a trumpet from one of the military musicians and ran to the river with it. Putting it to his lips, he sounded with a piercing blast the legionnaires' call to advance, then boldly crossed to the other side of the river. Roused from his thoughts, Caesar called out, "Let us accept this as a sign from the gods and follow where they beckon, in vengeance on our double-dealing enemies. Alia iacta est. The die is cast." With that exclamation, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, starting a great civil war that would bring him unprecedented power in the Roman world, even as it advanced the frontiers of Rome both in extent and through time. Mired in corruption, Rome had been almost surely doomed. By choosing a course that ended this moribund misrule, Caesar gave to the Roman state, and therefore to Greco-Roman civilization, 4 more centuries of life in the West and 6 more in the East, bequeathing to the world a heritage that is more than history. It continues to influence and inform cultures and governments, including that of our own nation. Crossing the Rubicon was, by any measure, a great decision. In the 19th century, the Scots essayist, philosopher, historian Thomas Carlyle wrote that history was nothing more or less than the biography of great men. The great man theory of history, as it became known, held sway through the Victorian age of empires, but gave way during the increasingly egalitarian 20th century to an interpretation of history not so much as that which results from the actions of some key individual, but as the sum total of mass movements and great social forces. Certainly, it is possible to focus on the social pressures that lay behind Caesar's crossing the Rubicon, the economic and political dispossession of an entire class of people, and to identify those pressures as the real cause of the great Roman Civil War, and ultimately of the historical, cultural, and spiritual changes the war made possible. Yet a stubborn fact remains. There was a river, and one man, Julius Caesar, decided to cross it. If it is valid to see life-changing, epoch-making history as the product of social forces, it is equally valid to see it as the result of great decisions put into action by the will of an individual. No question that the will of Caesar was a powerful force. But will is also a universal human faculty common to us all, the mental faculty by which each of us, every day and every minute of every day, makes choices. It is a faculty each of us shares with Caesar and every other great leader in history. Yet there must be something about or within the will of the Caesars of the world that does set them apart from the rest of us. Call it the Rubicon factor. It is a quality of leadership that enables an individual to define and then to make decisions bearing the highest stakes, and then, even more important, to act on the decision that has been made. In short, the Rubicon factor is the quality that propels some to break through and to break through consistently. What is the nature of this quality? Does everyone have it, or only an exceptional few? Are leaders born with it, or can it be acquired, cultivated, learned? By looking closely at the most courageous decisions of history's greatest leaders and public figures in the spheres of government, the military, culture, science, civil rights, philanthropy, and business, this audiobook explores these questions and offers answers. Let us anticipate one of those answers now. Possession of the Rubicon factor may well be genetic, but it seems clear that it can also be learned, cultivated, applied, and practiced. The stories in this audiobook are fascinating as history, but they are even more